There are places so quiet, so remote, so untouched by human footsteps, that the silence itself begins to feel like a presence thick alert, almost breathing. Fire lookout towers stand within these places like lonely sentinels, perched above oceans of dark trees and endless valleys, guarding the wilderness from flame, but never shielded from what the wilderness might send back. People go there expecting isolation. What they don't expect is what the isolation reveals. Things that move without sound, lights that flicker where no lights should be, footsteps on wooden stairs that should be empty for miles. Tonight, you'll hear 3 creepy, true fire lookout horror stories told by people who went up that lonely ladder and came back forever changed. But hidden inside each terrifying moment is a lesson, a truth, a spark of something deeper and strangely beautiful. Because even fear has something to teach us. Especially fear. Imagine the world settling into darkness around a fire lookout tower. Far below, the forest becomes a bowl of shadows, every branch clawing at the night. The radio crackles on and off, your only connection to humanity. The air is thin, the wind cold and the moon barely visible behind moving clouds. In these conditions, every sound feels amplified, every creak, every knock, every shift in the air. It's no wonder that so many fire lookout workers talk about strange encounters, eerie moments, and things they cannot explain. But tonight isn't just about the scares. Tonight is about the lessons you can take from the edges of fear. Lessons that might help you not only survive darkness, but find strength within it. Fear reveals what truly matters. When you are alone and something begins to move in the dark below you, something you cannot name, something that climbs your tower with deliberate weight, fear strips your soul down to its core. And nothing proves that more than the story of Daniel, a lookout stationed deep in the mountains, 2 weeks into a long solitude shift. He was used to silence, used to the creaking tower, used to the occasional rustle of wildlife in the underbrush. But he wasn't used to footsteps on the stairs at 12:47 a.m. It started with the faintest thud, one that made him look up from his notebook. Then another. Then a slow, dragging step. He froze, every nerve in his body firing at once. He whispered into the radio, calling for nearby rangers. But the static swallowed his voice. The footsteps grew louder. Slow, heavy, too heavy to be a person hiking alone at night, too slow to be a bear, too deliberate to be any creature he knew. His lantern outside flickered violently, shadows twisting like hands clawing across the walls. He held his breath. The steps creaked closer, stopping just 2 planks below the top platform. He didn't dare look. His heart pounded so loudly, he swore the thing outside could hear it. But then, silence. A long, suffocating silence. Minutes passed. Then the steps descended, each one groaning under the weight of something unnatural. By dawn, whatever it was had vanished into the trees. When the sun broke, Daniel felt reborn, horrified, yes, but filled with a clarity he never had before. He thought about what flashed in his mind when he believed he might die. Regret for the time he wasted, the dreams he postponed, the people he neglected. He realized fear had shown him exactly what mattered. Days later, when he came down from that tower, he quit the job that drained him, reconnected with family, and started living differently. Fear didn't destroy him, it redirected him. And that's the hidden truth about fear. It pulls back the curtain on your real priorities, reminding you of what you must not lose. Solitude teaches strength, and no one learned that more painfully than Rhea, who worked the lookout tower during a particularly active fire season. She thought loneliness would be the hardest part, but she was wrong. One night, she heard scratching beneath the tower, slow and constant, like claws against wood. She thought it was a raccoon, but when she looked down with her flashlight, she froze. 3 mountain lions circled below, eyes glowing like tiny blue flames. Every survival instinct screamed inside her. She was trapped with no way down, no help close enough to reach her before dawn. But she stayed calm. She stayed sharp. And when the lions returned the next night, and the next, something inside her shifted. She realized she was stronger than her fear. Solitude didn't weaken her, it made her tough. One lookout learned that the hard way when he kept feeling watched. Our instincts are built from generations of survival. We're meant to listen to them. Darkness isn't the enemy. What hides within it is. A lookout named Eli learned that when he saw flickering lights weaving between the trees deep in the valley, they appeared like lanterns, bobbing in the distance, swaying left and right. He thought they were hikers. He tried signaling. The lights paused, then vanished. Minutes later, they reappeared farther away, moving deeper into the woods, as if inviting him to follow. He didn't. But the next morning he searched the area with the ranger. There were no camps, no footprints, no signs of anyone passing through. Some lights guide but others lure. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's choosing to act despite it. Sophia learned this when a violent lightning storm knocked out her radio. Her lights and her heat leaving her tower in pitch blackness as something repeatedly scraped against the window. The tower shook with thunder, and she stayed awake with only a candle, whispering prayers, refusing to abandon her post. That night, she wasn't fearless, she was terrified, but her duty and her conscience were stronger. She stood firm until dawn. That's courage. Trembling, but continuing. The unknown. ISNT always evil. Sometimes it's a warning. One lookout saw a tall shadow pacing the tree line, night after night, moving with eerie consistency. 5 steps forward. Pause. 5 steps back. Pause. Days later, an earthquake struck, triggering a massive wildfire. The pacing shadow had always appeared near the fault line. Whether it was a hallucination, a spirit, or simply intuition taking shape, it warned him of a disaster he couldn't yet see. Sometimes fear isn't trying to scare you, it's trying to save you. Stillness helps you hear what life has been whispering, miles from any human voice. One lookout spent nights listening to silence so complete it felt like a living force. In that silence, he realized demons suppressing grief from a decade-old loss, burying memories, denying dreams. Terror came from outside, wolves howling, branches snapping, strange shapes shifting just beyond his spotlight. But healing came from within. Stillness stripped away distraction and forced him to confront what his heart had long avoided. Survival creates gratitude for the smallest blessings. Paul learned that when lightning struck his tower, setting part of it ablaze, he escaped through thick smoke, climbing down the scalding ladder rung by rung as fire flickered inches from his hands. When he reached the ground, gasping, coughing, trembling, he looked up at the sunrise and cried, not because of fear or relief, but because he suddenly understood how precious it all was. Breath, warmth, morning light. Life, horror sharpens. Appreciation, in a way comfort never could. These stories remind us that fear is not only an enemy, it is a teacher. It forces us to confront truths we often ignore. It sharpens awareness. It strengthens spirit. It humbles, protects, awakens, and transforms. The darkness around those lonely fire lookout towers mirrors the darkness in our own lives, the uncertainty, the struggle, the fear of facing the unknown. Yet the people who stood in those shadows found strength they didn't know they had. And so can you. If you are facing something frightening, uncertain, or unclear in your own life, I pray you find the courage of Daniel, Ria, Sophia, and all who stood alone in the watchtowers. May fear reveal what truly matters to you. May solitude make you strong. May the unknown guide you instead of paralyze you. May the darkness in your life be driven away by the light inside you. And may God, who watches over every forest, mountain, and wandering soul, watch over you tonight and always, protecting you as faithfully as those fire lookouts protected the wilderness they were entrusted with, and giving you the strength to rise from every shadow that tries to touch your story.